All right. So good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming. This is the summer program meeting for the graduate and business programs. And I'm Stephanie Heald Fisher. I'm your program dean. So the things we're going to go over in tonight's meeting is me, program dean, lecture review quizzes, announcements, course audits, library components, program input, and questions. This meeting is serving as our program meeting during the in-service. So if you were planning on coming to the in-service in September, we will not be having any program meetings afterwards. I thought maybe if I tried it at a different time and gave you two different options, I'd get more people who could attend. So, excuse me, this is me. My email and my phone number, that is a cell phone. So, if you have questions, you're more than welcome to call. If you want to text, I take texts. It's not a problem. I am currently homeless. My husband's been transferred to Charlotte, North Carolina. So we are in the process of moving. And the moving trucks took all of our stuff just yesterday, and this morning we drove up to the Charlotte area. One of the more interesting things is I actually will be still living in South Carolina rather than North Carolina, because the southwest section of Charlotte metropolitan area is actually in South Carolina. So there's a little bit of trivia. People ask where you live. I live near Charlotte, North Carolina, but I live in South Carolina. So you may have noticed too that I used to be called the program program chair, and now I'm the program dean. What is the difference? So as the program chair, I used to hold these meetings, and I was, point of contact for you. As program dean, I am going to be taking on even more responsibilities, and I will be working with you much more closely. I will be doing the spot checks that John Scoy used to do. I will also be participating in your annual reviews. So I'll be taking more management duties on. I'm also in charge of both the graduate and the business programs. So for most things, I would be the person you can reach out to. I will even be doing scheduling with John. He'll send you the contracts to sign. He's kind of the paperwork guy when it comes to that. But together we decide on the teaching assignments and such. So that's kind of the difference why I'm now program dean instead of program chair. So that said, okay, I want to look at the lecture review quizzes. Now, I would like to encourage you to see those as an opportunity for you to really connect again with your students and offer information to them. I go and change the questions. We all know that the standard question is, in 2 to 3 sentences, please share your aha moment from the lecture video. I change mine up in my classes, and I do this in part to make the lectures more meaningful, and it would really tell me if the students listen to the lectures or not, because say you post a lecture on customer service skills or something, and they say, well, my aha moment was, learning better customer service skills. Ooh. So anyway, I would just like to encourage you to think about maybe coming up with a question for each of your lectures that you record. This is a picture of mine. It is for a master's course, so I ask them to do in 1 to 2 paragraphs rather than 2 to 3 sentences. You are welcome to do whatever you think is appropriate for your class. Just to kind of give you an example, in this class, this is teamwork and group management skills. And so typically in week 1 or unit 1, just kind of going over the project and the course in general. So I asked them, think about a team you're either currently on or been on in the past, and which of the topics we're covering in our class most interest you, and why. Then in week 2, we talk a little bit about teamwork, and I do a presentation on team training. And then I changed the lecture review question to ask them to discuss which type of team training would be most helpful to them. In Unit 3, one of the topics the text talks about is groupthink. So my lecture goes into groupthink more. It gives the detail on groupthink and some of the more, kind of where it really started, which was the Challenger accident. That's where the research and studies on groupthink really picked up. And I asked them to, think about the team they were on and what of the steps for preventing groupthink would they be most comfortable in using. So that's just kind of like an example of how I modify my lecture review quizzes. And since we typically teach the same classes or more than one time, I'm sure that all of you kind of make a recording for the units and, typically will reuse them at least once or twice. And so you could do the same thing with these quiz questions. The other thing is I keep mine, as you may notice, in a notepad file, because when I go into the course to change the question, if it's in Notepad, it will remove all of the Word hidden code that's in Word. So then all of my typing and lettering and stuff comes out very clear without any weird stuff going on. So, also, I thought one of your colleagues, Craig Johnson, had a really interesting point about the lectures that we made. He said that he tends to use them as an opportunity to expand on what the text is saying. So rather than just using the lecture as a kind of a regurgitation of what the text is saying, he picks a couple of good points and he expounds on them. So that's something to think about when you're doing your lectures. They don't have to be, a reiteration of the text. You don't have to say the same things the text is already saying. Again, like in the groupthink example there, the text really just said, here's groupthink and here's why it's a problem. And I took it a step further and kind of gave them the history of groupthink and one of the more famous examples of it and steps they can take to prevent groupthink. And these were all things that weren't covered in the text. Hi, Craig. Thank you very much. Yes, for those of you who remember him, Paul Harvey used to do the rest of the story, snippets on the radio, which were really interesting and cool. So just to try and encourage you to, use the lecture reviews or use the lectures as a way to do a Paul Harvey rest of the story, and really think about maybe switching up the lecture review quiz questions. If you are not familiar with how you can change those questions within your course, let me know. I'd be happy to show you. It's really easy to do. And so that's any questions on the lecture reviews or lecture review quizzes. Okay, I don't see anything. The second thing I wanted to talk to you about was announcements. At current, in the faculty expectations, you are required to post 2 announcements in the class per the 6 weeks. You're required to have a welcome announcement in week 1, and you're required to have an announcement encouraging students to fill out the course survey in the last weeks of the class. That is going to be changing. I think it's something that John will cover in a faculty meeting, but it is going to be changing on the faculty expectations. We'd like to see you post 2 announcements per week. So when you do the welcome announcement in week 1, you could do like a welcome announcement every week. You know, welcome to week 2, here's what we're doing in week 2. Welcome to week 3, here's what I want you to know about week 3. You could also post an announcement saying your grades are posted. Hey everybody, check this out, your grades are posted. I mean, that would be your 2 announcements per week. But the announcements can be another way to, you know, reach out to students. Maybe you're getting a lot of the same questions on an assignment. You could post something like that. You can kind of jazz them up, add videos that you think might be helpful to the students. So let's take a little bit of a look at what is something that I do. Again, I use Notepad to save my stuff because it just gets rid of all the funky stuff from work. And this is that teamwork class again. So, you know, I have my Unit 1 welcome announcement. I give them a little welcome blurb, and then I let them know what the assignments are due, and then, you know, I look forward to working with everybody. Then in Unit 2, it's kind of the same thing. Hi there, here's a little blurb, here's what's required for this week. Let me know if you have questions. One of the things I like to do that is not going to be required, I just try to use announcement titles that are kind of teasers and might get the students interested. Like this one is Leading and Managing and Coaching, oh my! If you've ever seen The Wizard of Oz, that comes from lions and tigers and bears, oh my! So, anyway, if you have a sense of humor, that's one way to kind of let it come out. This is my grades posted announcement. Would that include the class email announcement? I'm not sure what the class email announcement is, Craig. You guys are welcome to use your mics too if you prefer. Class. Anyway, while Craig's typing his question, this is my grades are posted announcements. You know, just, hey there, your grades are posted, be sure to read the feedback, here's how you'll find it. I use rubrics, I've given you feedback on both the assignments and the discussions, let me know if you have questions. So we're not talking, in this, I mean, I use this in every class. It's the same in each class. So, the grade posted announcements, you could just write grade posted announcement and put them in whatever classes that you're teaching. Okay. Okay, so you send out that early in the week to update that grades are posted, what to look for. Oh, okay. Yeah, I do that too. I send out early in the week an email letting students know what's up and coming. You could just copy that even and put that up as an announcement if you wanted to. But if you send them an email, it's not going to be counted as an announcement. Or if you make it an announcement and say send us email, that's fine too. As long as it shows up in your class as an announcement. That's what we'll be looking for. Okay. This is how they look when I post them on Campus Connect. That's the word I was looking for. This is the Unit 1. You also know, okay, so here's what I had in Notepad, but I always use clip art in my announcements. Just a little something. So here's the week 1 announcement, and I've got the welcome collage there. Week 2 is the leading and managing and coaching, oh my, and this is a graphic that shows the manager assisting an employee to success. So that's my graphic for that announcement. Here's the grades posted announcement. I just have a little guy holding an A+ paper. Just something to make them a little bit funner, a little more interesting to look at, I guess. So anyway, that's coming down the pike. So if you want to start getting used to it, we'll be looking for 2 announcements each week in your classes. So, any questions on announcements? Okay, wanted to let you know that one of the projects that I'm working on right now is course audits. And I've been asked to go through all of the core courses in the graduate and business programs and review, the key things in them, the text, the syllabi, the objectives, the course outline, the addendum, the assignments, the discussions, the resources. Just really take a good look at the course and see if it's as good as we can make it, or if there's something that really could use some changing. So I'm going to be doing that, but I am very open to your input on this. If you're teaching a course and you're like, this text is terrible, please tell me. If you feel like the course objectives that are listed don't match up with the assignments, give me suggestions for new ones. Yes, Greg, I do know you're not afraid to offer your input, and I appreciate it. And Greg can tell you that when he offers inputs, I do my best to make the adjustment. Because you guys are the experts teaching the courses. So I'll be doing that. But if you think there's resources we should be using, texts we should be changing, objectives, please feel free to reach out and to let me know, because I am interested in making these, the two best programs they possibly can be. Thank you for that, Greg. Another thing that I wanted to mention to everybody is that we are looking to add more library components into our classes. Okay, what does that mean? Basically, if there's a research assignment that's due in a course that you're teaching, we would like to have more library instruction resources put into that class that are specific for that class. Right now, BS 180 is the only business class that has specified library instruction resources, and as far as the graduate courses go, none of them made the list. Yay! So I'm sure Greg's thinking right now, well, RS 600, RS 651, they should have something in there. It's like, yep, they should. I think we have some old things that were in there, but I want to put them on the list to get them refreshed. So again, as you're teaching your classes, if there's a research assignment in your class and it asks, the instructions ask the student to do research, let me know, and I'll make sure that it gets added to the list, and our librarian, Amy O'Shea, will make sure that we get some library instruction resources in there that are pertinent to that class and those topics. Okay, so that's a lot of topics for me to cover. We're now at the my usual spiel part of the meeting, which is, if you ever have course suggestions, concerns, adjustments you want made to the classes, please let me know. If you have problems, I know, like, Craig sent over, a suggestion for fixing something in an HR class, and Sherry let me know about a problem in one of the math classes. Seriously, I want to know these things, and I'm the person you should come to. I want to fix any mistakes or errors or make improvements to anything that you think needs to be done in these classes. As the teachers, you are the experts in the classes. Also, if there's training on something that you would like to receive, I would love to be able to, add some of that to our meetings. Like tonight when I was going over the announcements and the lecture review quizzes, the lectures, I don't want to just tell you should change things up, but I'd like to show you, kind of some of the examples there. So if you ever have any of those things, be sure to let me know. Presentation. Oh, okay. Okay. You would like to see more presentation app options and not allow the VoiceOver PowerPoint in Windows Movie. All right. Thank you, Greg. I can certainly look into that. This slide does not pertain to those of you who are here in person. Yay! This is for those of you who were unable to make it to the meetings, which I understand. Those things happen. However, I do appreciate when you watch the recordings. You have to send a summary to me. For this meeting, the summary is due Friday, September 1st. That's my email. It is going to be required for continued teaching assignments. So this is something that I'll be making a note of. And if you have any questions while you're watching the recording, please feel free to reach out and let me know. Any questions from anyone? Anybody have any thoughts or comments? Okay. I combined the business and graduate programs because a lot of you actually type or teach in both of them. And the topics obviously would cover both program courses. So, all right, well, doesn't look like there's any questions, so thank you for your time and your input, and thank you for sticking with the program and being such great instructors. Have a good rest of the evening.